Morning. Another piggy day, being done the piggy way. Sitting out here, the birds are singing, got the kitties in the yard. Y'all might can see them there doing their thing, just bathing themselves, just going at it. A kitty life. Well, all right. Get down to it, try to make this as short as possible. It might wind up being a multi-part video. Question come up about Temu the other night on live. Some people wondering about it, questioning what it is, whether it's a good idea or not. Well, when it comes to the saving money part, it might be a fantastic idea. But Elaine, she's been reading all sorts of stuff on people having problems with theirs because Temu gets in there and takes over your devices, pretty much controlling what you can and can't do. You might not have that problem yet. So they are what some people have suspected they do, data mine. Everybody mines for data. They want to know you. They want to know the last time you sit and took a poop. And it's all about something called microeconomics. They know what everybody's doing and what everybody prefers. They can put what's most popular into a store, make sure they get high sales. Everybody else that likes other things that ain't so popular has to do without. Because true to socialism, majority rules. Well, it's like Ayn Rand said about socialism and communism. One is done at the end of the gun, and the other is brought on by choice. But they're both the same thing. It's just how they get there is done in two different ways. But you still get the same end result. So how's that come to be? Well, it's pretty simple. Back years ago, foreign cars were a novelty. When they got their foot in the door enough, they started sending quite a few over. Oh, they're cheaper, they're better on gas. I save money with that. There's a problem with that, though. The profits of those sales went back to the nation they came from. Later on, China got involved, hot and heavy. And this may go back before the cars because there was electronics starting to be brought in too before that. A lot of things beginning to be subcontracted out to these other countries because it was cheaper on the manufacturers to send it out. That became a thing. And as taxes and regulations became more and more, it made it harder and harder for companies to make a profit. So more and more companies started sending their manufacturing overseas to other countries. Now we were starting to buy subpar merchandise. And was also giving those countries money that would otherwise have went to Americans. Then Sam Walton died, and his kids took over. Totally messed up Walmart. Prices went up, and they have become pretty much a Chinese wholesale outlet for not so much wholesale prices. Their prices are bad. They're high. Apologies to those where Walmart is your only choice. You do what you got to do. That's understandable. Now, bear in mind, all of this plays into something we've been foretold about. A lot of people just don't want to see it. Then comes Amazon. That's bad enough. Now people don't have to go out to shop. They don't want to. They can just get online, go to Amazon, see something they like, hit click, bought, it's sent. Well, that cuts out a lot of need to go into stores. Well, there's more jobs gone. And now here comes Temu. The reason the prices are so cheap, because number one, they use child and slave labor. They're paying next to nothing for the jobs that are required to make these products. You think those people really care about what they're doing? They just slapping it together and sending it on. They don't care. They have no pride in their work. And then it's also cheaper because the materials they use are the cheapest available, especially in electronics. Yeah, you may be getting a drone for $5, but you have components and materials that probably get 10 of them for a dime, if that, when you buy it wholesale from another manufacturer that's over there, that's using child and slave labor. And then it's real easy for them to ship because they get special privileges on that in order to promote a world economic system. And while they're not having to abide by certain things, we do. We have to abide by them. We get stuff from over there that's built in ways and built by folks that shouldn't be having to. And that's going to eventually wind up putting even Walmart out of business, because why send their stuff to Walmart to be sold, to be basically a Chinese wholesale outlet? That's basically all Walmart is anymore. When they can just be like Amazon, have you basically ordering direct from the manufacturer and have it sent straight over. You might one day see Walmarts have Temu on them, and them being distribution centers for their products. There goes more jobs. Now the cars, Japanese were smart. They put their manufacturing plants over here so they wouldn't have to ship them over here. So now we got Americans building foreign cars. That's why the foreign cars have gotten better and the American cars have gotten worse, because American manufacturers have sent their manufacturing to other countries because it's cheaper for them to send it to another country and then send it back produced. How that makes sense, I don't know. Well, I do know. The reason is because of all the taxes and regulations that are put on companies here to be able to produce here, so that they are encouraged to send all their stuff to other countries to be produced and then just sent back over here as if coming from another country. And they literally are. Most other countries, they don't have to pay them as much. So you think those people care about what they're putting together? No. Especially when they know it's coming to America, because they hate us. So we're paying exorbitant prices for low quality stuff built by people who have no pride in their work. And a lot of it's automated. They don't care. Why do I got a problem with that? Well, first of all, it is first and foremost an information gathering platform. And it is a platform that is run and owned by one of the biggest enemies of America. Why do we get mad at politicians? Because we think they're selling us out. But I'm going to tell you something on that. I'm not trying to get political here. I'm just stating some facts. But don't get mad at them. Get mad at ourselves. Because the politicians ain't doing nothing but going a few levels up from what we already did to our own nation, without thinking about the repercussions of saving a little bit of money. We betrayed our nation before the politicians did. And the politicians see it as, well, they obviously don't care. We're going to do what we want to do. Let them get mad. When they sit and think about it, they're going to find out. Now, this is going to lead me into something. I saw a guy on TikTok. Now, I've never believed that America was in the Bible, because a lot of people want to say that the eagle in the Bible in Revelations represents America. Well, it don't. The eagle in the Bible in Revelations represents the old Roman Empire. But now he was going through it. I haven't studied Revelations a whole lot like I have much of the rest of it, because quite honestly, before all the really bad stuff hits, Jesus is coming to take his church home, keeping them away from all that bad stuff that's coming. A lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people believe that rapture is going to be mid-tribulation, about the time that the Antichrist breaks his treaty with Israel. A lot of them believe that it's going to be when the end of the Great Tribulation, when Jesus comes back to whoop some butt. No. Antichrist can't come into this world until he who protects the church takes the church out of the world. A lot of people believe that he means Michael the Archangel. No. The only one who could do that is Jesus, because the body of Christ is the church, and it's Jesus' church, and he's the one that's been in this world keeping the Antichrist at bay until the time comes for the tribulation. But once he takes his church out, then it's on, then the Antichrist will be revealed. But, anywho, all this is leading up to that. And this is part of things that have to be in order for God's will and plan to be fulfilled. But this is just the mechanics behind what's leading up to that. We did not remain vigilant, people. To be vigilant is to be thinking about things, thinking things through. Well, what's saving this amount of money going to do in the big picture? The reason we become less vigilant is because we don't like to think. Unfortunately, that's all I do. Sometimes I wish I could be like a lot of other folks and just not think about it. Oh, hey, I got it to do it, so I'm going to do it. Folks, I'd rather pay more buying something here if I can find it, and doing without until I have the money to do it, so that I know maybe it's doing our nation some good instead of somebody else. But in the end, all of it's going to big, huge corporations that's global anyway. So in the end, it might not matter because it's all going towards that. But this is the mechanics of how it was brought about. The Chinese used the same basic psychology that they used on the POWs in World War I. The harder you worked, the less your reward. And each time you got that little reward, you'd have to work even harder for the next reward, which is going to be even smaller. Until there is no reward being given, you've been brainwashed into their way of thinking, which is not to think at all. Just do as you're told. Obey. Well, obedience is good if you're serving God, because God's going to make sure you have good things. It might not be much, you think, but you have what you need, you eat, you got clothes. You know, He makes sure you have what you need. And if your soul prospers, He will prosper you, but not until. And the reason for that is, if He can't trust you with the wealth that He could bestow upon you, and trust you to not get full of yourself and thinking you did that and you can do what you want to, oh, now I'm all this and that, God would open up the vaults of heaven and plunge you in wealth. But see, that's the problem. We can't be trusted for the most part. There's a few out there who could be and can be. But most of us can't be trusted with that kind of wealth. And by not having that kind of wealth, we remain humble because we know God provides our needs. Anyway, this is the mechanics of how all this is coming about. And it's just one small portion of the whole thing. But the bottom line is, we fell asleep. We ceased to be vigilant. We ceased to think about it. We are at a stage now, we think we got a little bit of wealth going on. You know, we got enough to do things we want to do at the spur of the moment. And squirrel. Oh, there was a shiny little bauble. I want that, squirrel. And there we go. We do not think. We see it for a really cheap price. Well, you know the old saying, you get what you pay for. And then the repercussions of that, quite literally, are going to be hell to pay. And that's how it's coming about. So in the end, it might not matter if you do Temu or not. They pretty much got control of everything anyway. Maybe that's just the old Marine in me still thinking strategically, you know, why we got here and what we might could do to change it. But on that, personally, I think it's too late. What's coming is coming, and we can't stop it. So the best thing you can do is be ready. You can either be ready for the Lord to come back and take us home, or you can be ready to go through the great tribulation and suffer. That's the choices. So, if you want to do Temu, that's your choice. Just remember the repercussions. Just remember the cheap crap you're going to be buying that ain't going to last. And that it takes away from our own nation. And that might be what's going to happen in the end, because what that one guy was explaining was that, and I see it coming, Temu is a big example of it. They're saying that, you know, people of the world would stop buying her products. And the hurt being referred to is America. Because the other things that described what it was describes America perfectly. And in the end of that, I've felt like America won't be here for the Great Tribulation anyway. It's just going to be all over there. And there's a reason for that. Because as it was explained by that one guy talking about it, I listened to it and it resonated with my spirit. So I know it has to be true. And what happens at the end of all that being described, America is burned down. It'll be desolate. There won't be nothing here. So we may not be here for it anyway, one way or the other. And the way I figure it is, we have two great nations that both want America, Russia and China. So they're in a war with each other, even though they've become chummy with each other. You know, that's just old saying of, you know, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's what they're doing right now. They're enemies, but they're keeping each other closer than friends because they want to make sure what each other's doing. Because they're both in a fight for rights to America. And what I think will happen when America's finally broken, busted, no way of coming back, it'll be ripe for plunder. And if one looks like it's going to win over the other for the rights to America, the one that ain't going to get it's going to blow us up. If it looks like China's going to get us, right, Russia will push that button. If it looks like Russia's going to get us, China will push that button. Either way, we're done. So, y'all think about it. Piggy loves you.